Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? Happy Monday. I hope you guys had a fantastic start to your work week. It is the 6th of May, if you can believe that. This is the birthday month in our house, so both my husband and my birthday are in the month of May, so it's an important month for us. My sister just turned 40. Her birthday is also in May. So yeah, it's a pretty exciting month, and Book Expo is at the end of the month, where I am going to be going to New York, where I'm going to be hooking up with the book cougars again. I'm going to finally get to meet the reading women, and I hope to meet Matt Sharapa as well. So this is going to be a pretty fantastic month, if I do say so myself. Today's video is all about releases that are coming out in the month of May 2019, and one that I'm slipping in. And as I always say, these are not all of the books coming out in 2019, nor are all the books that I would love to talk about, but these are the ones that were kindly sent to me by publishers, which I wanted to share with you because I think that there are a lot of amazing titles here. So, as I always say, get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, because I am about to, again, make your TBR explode. And as I always say, please order from your independent bookstores. If you pre-order books for the authors, it does really help them. And either that or have your library pre-order them and get a copy when they come in so that you can get these books into your hands and you can be reading them as soon as possible. So let's get started with my caveat book. And this book may have come out April 30th. For some reason, I had it in my May 7th pile, but I'm a little bit on the fence, so it may already be out. And this is The Missing of Clairdelune by Christelle Dabos. This is out from Europa Editions, and this is the second book in the Mirror Visitor Quartet, which started with the novel A Winter's Promise, which I read last year. I have read this, and I'm going to tell you right now, I loved book 1 and book 2 is better. This is the story of Ophelia. She is a young girl that has some special abilities per her family, where she can actually travel through mirrors, and also she can touch and read objects' histories. In book 1, she is promised in marriage to a man who lives in a different part of their world, and she goes there, and then she's more or less hidden away and gets involved in the political intrigue that is her husband-to-be's family, and just sort of the politics of the entire arc that they live on. This book starts at the end of that. I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but it is this one, because there's less world building, because we already know the world, can really focus on the people, the characters, and the plot, and you fly through it. I loved it. I cannot wait for book 3 and book 4. I absolutely wish that I could speak French, actually, and read French. I don't need to speak it. I just need to be able to read it because I want to know what happens. This has quickly become one of my favorite series that I'm reading. So that is The Missing of Clairdelune by Christelle Dabos. This is translated from the French by Hildegard Cyril, and this may or may not already be out. So on Goodreads, it says it came out on April 30th. On the book, it says it comes out May 2019. So that's why I'm a little bit on the fence here. This is not the cover. The cover is a beautiful yellow cover. So definitely don't look for this purple cover, but please, please read this series. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Europa. Cannot wait. The next book I actually just started, and it is a bit of nonfiction, and that is Furious Hours, Murder, Fraud, and the Last Trial of Harper Lee by Casey Sepp. This is the story of what Harper Lee did after she helped Truman Capote write In Cold Blood. So this is also sort of a murder mystery investigation. At the center and the crux of this is a reverend who is on trial for the murder of 5 of his family members, supposedly for some sort of life insurance inheritance money. He has an attorney who is very good and gets him off. What happens, though, is at the funeral of the last person, he is then killed by another member of the family, who then goes on trial and is defended by the same attorney that defended the Reverend and also is exonerated. Harper Lee investigated, interviewed, and really was involved in the story of this family and this crime. It happened in a little town in Alabama. You know she is from Alabama. And she did a lot of research, but she never wrote the book. So Casey really looks into reasons why she didn't write the book, but also puts together her research and encourages us to sort of go along this journey with Harper Lee. I am really fascinated by this, and I'm super excited and I just started it. I have to thank my friend Ann Kingman over at Penguin Random House for sending me a copy. This is coming out from Knopf on May 7th, so you can get this tomorrow, you guys. If you are into sort of literary nonfiction, I highly recommend it. I am really enjoying it. So, Furious Hours, Murder, Fraud, and the Last Trial of Harper Lee by Casey Sepp, and it's out tomorrow. The next book is another translated book, and this came to me by way of Coach House, and this is The Law of the Skies by Gregoire. Cortois. My French is really bad, so I'm going to hold that up for you. This is translated by Rhonda Mullins. This also comes out on May 7th. This really made me buy into this. Sorry, English hard. Is a blurb that says this is a combination of Winnie the Pooh and the Blair Witch Project, which is all I needed to want to read this book because I find that that is the creepiest thing I have ever heard. So I'm super duper excited for this one. So that's The Laws of the Skies by Gregoire Cortois, and that's translated from the French by Rhonda Mullins. And there you go. I don't know much about this one, but I am super excited. I shouldn't get distracted. I'll start reading with you guys here on the camera. The next book is a YA title, if you are looking for YA. This was sent to me by the nice people at Page Street. I had requested a book from them, and they sent me a couple of extra books, and they all sounded really good. And this is Deposing Nathan by Zack Smedley. Again, this comes out on May 7th, which is tomorrow. This is the story of Nathan, who and his friend Cam. They have a very interesting relationship, and really the blurb on the back is that Nathan never thought he would be attacked by Cam, and now he is being asked to go on record to give a statement that could put Cam in jail. But their relationship has always been this sort of push-shove. Cam has always kind of challenged Nathan to break the rules and sort of think outside himself and also really become maybe who he is. But also eventually Nathan starts to push back, which probably leads to the altercation that is the center of this book. So this is Deposing Nathan by Zack Smedley. This is not the cover that this is coming out with. I actually like this cover quite a bit, so I did not keep the little piece of paper that was the actual cover, so I'm keeping this one. But I want to thank Page Street for sending me this copy a lot. I'm super excited about this one. Okay, continuing on, May 7th is from Soho Press, Rabbits for Food by Binnie, and I'm going to hold Binnie's last name up there because you know I will not pronounce it accurately. This book starts on New Year's Eve. Do I have a year? I don't think so. And we have the protagonist, who is a sort of melancholy writer, who she is at a New Year's Eve party and sort of loses it. It finally has her last breakdown, and she winds up in a mental health facility, and she refuses all treatment. She does not want any of the treatment being provided by the mental health facility. What she starts to do is write the stories of the people that are in the facility with her. And I think from the prompt I read, I want to say Victor Lavalle had done sort of a blurb on this book on Twitter, that it has a lot of humor, but also deals with sort of that melancholy that this main character is feeling in a really sophisticated way. So that is Rabbits for Food by Binnie. Let me hold her last name up there for you. This is out from Soho Press on May 7th. This book that I'm about to talk to you about sounds fantastic. Now, this is coming to me from Soft Skull Press. Now, Soft Skull Press published the Job of Wasp by Colin Willamette. I'm blanking on your last name, Colin. I apologize. Last year, which I absolutely loved. It was a creepy book. But I read a review of Loudermilk by Lucy Ives in Publishers Weekly, and I knew immediately that I needed to get my hands on it. But the blurb is sort of everything here. It says, reasons to go to school for writing. Free money, i.e. fellowship funding or relatively easy work, i.e. writing poems. Carefree, corn-fed, and maximum approved sexually adventurous undergrad population. Forget all about the war on terror. Health insurance. Footnote, only if actually enrolled. If secretly writing poems on behalf of your more charismatic friend who is enrolled, you will not be covered by health insurance. Amusing, perpetually hungover drunk writing professors and their attractive partners' offspring. Did we mention your classmates are writing a lot of haiku? Beauty, truth, love, postscript again, Doubtful, giving that, as poetry teaches us, when two soulmates meet, the world tends to split it in two. I think this book is going to be stylistically challenging. I think it's a little bit postmodern in nature. And also, I love the idea, I love books about writers or the writing process or people who are doing something in the writing world. So that is Loudermilk by Lucy Ives. And this is out on May 7th from Soft Skull Press. So thank you, Soft Skull. The next book I actually just got not that long ago. And this is from Atria Books, and this is The Daughter's Tale by Armando Lucas Correa. And I just actually saw him on Twitter at Costco signing a bunch of copies of this book for a debut on May 7th, which I thought was really cool, that you could go to Costco and actually get signed autographed books by this author. Now, I have not read what the actual sort of blurb is. What I read about this is the letter that Armando Lucas Correa writes on the back. He talks about the fact that he met a woman named Judith and at the end of her life. And Judith tells him a story about when she was 14 months old, her family was fleeing World War II. And they tried on a ship, on a refugee ship, they tried to go to Cuba, they tried to go to the US, they tried to go to Canada, and no one would let them in. So they wound up back in France, where they were sheltered by a Catholic family. However, one day, the German army shows up and takes them and forces the parents into a provisional intern camp with the expectation that they will wind up in Auschwitz. What he says is, as he was listening to Judith tell her story, very much at the end of her life, she's sort of whispering this to him, is that one day they're supposed to leave the next day for Auschwitz. Her dad takes her into the forest and holding her hand. And as her father whispers in her ear to look up to the stars, look up to the treetops, all of a sudden she feels alone, and then another hand touches her. She turns around, her father is gone, and someone else is taking her away. That is The Daughter's Tale by Armando Lucas Correa. That was his inspiration. I think that sounds amazing. So I often say that I think World War II is one of those topics that's gotten a lot of press and a lot of stories lately. But I love when we get a story that comes at it from a completely different, unique human angle. And that's what I really get to this. So thank you, Atria Books, for sending me The Daughter's Tale by Armando Lucas Correa. Again, this is out tomorrow. Actually, this is quite a stack of books that are coming out tomorrow. The other stacks are a bit smaller. The next book is The Guest Book, ooh, that's wrong, by Sarah Blake. This is a different Sarah Blake than wrote Naama, which was the retelling of Noah's Tale. This is set in sort of two time periods. It starts in 1938. This is the Milton family. They appear to have everything going with them, and then something happens that basically just sort of makes the family, it's a tragedy, and they wind up moving to a small island off of Maine, buying that island, and on that island is this house. And then it says, in 1959, so about 24 years later, a young Jewish man named Len Levy will get a job at this bank, Ogden's Bank, and earn the admiration of the Ogden family. And to the scorn of everybody else, Len's best friend, Reg Pauling, has also always been the only black man in the room at Harvard, at work, and finally at the Milton's Island in Maine. An island that, at the dawn of the 21st century, this last generation doesn't have the money to keep. When Kitty's granddaughters hear that she and her cousins might be forced to sell it, and when her husband brings back disturbing evidence about her grandfather's past, she realizes that she is on the verge of finally understanding the silence that seemed to hover below the surface of this family. Now, this book has a blurb that says, Sarah Blake has written the great American novel. This is by Cynthia St. John, who is a bookseller at Kepler's Book in Menlo Park, which is a local bookstore to me. It's about 25 minutes north, and it is a phenomenal bookstore. They do amazing events there. So if she says to read something, I'm telling you, she's going to be right. Oh, I got to do that. That's wrong. So this is The Guest Book by Sarah Blake, and again, this comes out on May 7th as well. Okay, 3 more May 7th books to tell you guys about. I've talked about this book. This is The Unpassing by Chia-Chia Lin, and I apologize if I'm saying that first name wrong. This is the family story of a group of Taiwanese immigrants, a family of 6, who winds up in Alaska. when one of the young boys gets sick with meningitis, and when he wakes up, he finds out that his sister also got meningitis but did not survive. That tragedy really affects the family, and then eventually the father is being sued for the improper installation of a water heater, I think. Hold on, I want to make sure. Water well, I'm sorry, that harms a little boy. So he goes on trial for that. And as that sort of comes together, all of their story comes together, and really maybe the true reason that his sister died of meningitis. This is The Unpassing by Chia-Chia Lin, and I saw a blurb sort of discussion of this by Garth Greenwell, so if you're a fan of his, he's a huge fan of this book. This is from FSG. They actually sent me this beautiful finished copy. Super excited to read this one. It is very soon up on my TBR. Next is a book I just finished. I told you I read one book this week and I absolutely loved it, and that is The Archive of Alternate Endings by Lindsey Dragger. I always want to put an N in her name. This was sent to me by, and I always say the name of this publishing company right, Zank Books, DZANC. And I want to thank them very much. I read Lindsey's last book, which was the Lost Daughter Collective, and absolutely loved it. She is a postmodern writer. She is very hard to describe. But basically what this is it's a combination of sort of a meditation on the Hansel and Gretel fairy tale and how its themes and overall discussion of brothers and sisters and families sort of travels through time and has definite effects on different groups of people. It is also intertwined with the passing of Halley's Comet, which happens every 72 years. Is it 72 years? 75 years. So basically what we do is we jump in time in 75-year increments as Halley's Comet is going over. We learn about people who are also dealing sort of with this folk tale and how it is affecting sort of their overall life. We talk to the Brothers Grimm as they write the sort of definitive version of Hansel and Gretel, where it came from and how they changed it, as also they deal with some personal things within their family. There's a fantastically meditative sort of step back section regarding the AIDS epidemic and the family dynamic of that. She is very hard to describe as an author, but she will make you think. She has some amazingly beautiful prose, but she makes you work as a reader, which I truly, truly appreciate. And I love this. This will be in a read and reviewed very soon. And that is The Archive of Alternate Endings by Lindsey Dragger. And this is out on May 7th. And I want to thank Zinka Books very much for sending it to me. I absolutely adored it. Last but not least, on May 7th is The Farm by Joanne Ramos. This is sort of one of those books. It has a very Handmaid's Tale feeling to it. But basically what The Farm is, it's a community where you can apply to sort of live this luxurious life. You get paid a lot of money, but while you're there, you're basically taken away and out of the loop of the world for 9 months, as you will be working, being paid, to create a child for wealthy patrons of the farm. Our main character is an immigrant from the Philippines with a young daughter of her own. She gets accepted into the farm and becomes pregnant. But as time goes on, she starts to miss her life and her family. But she knows if she leaves the farm, she loses all the money and security that is promised to her from going through this process. And it says here at the end, she cannot leave the farm or she will lose the life-changing fee she'll receive on delivery, or worse. My book club actually chose this. We are going to be reading this for our July meeting. We all thought it sounded fantastic. So this is The Farm by Joanne Ramos. I want to thank Random House very much for sending me this early copy, because when I talked about it with my book club group, they were on it. They were excited. Actually, my friend Ryan had heard about it and he brought it up, and I just happened to have it in a stack. We are on to May 14th. And we are on to this translated book by the lovely people over at Two Lines Press. Let me make sure I got that right. Two Lines Press. This is a translated novel. It's called Beyond Babylon. This is by Igiaba, Scego, translated by Aaron Robinson. And I apologize, I butchered that name. Isn't that cover gorgeous, though? But this one's one of those ones that's hard to talk about. So, an epic for an era of migrants, border crossing, and traumatic conflicts, Beyond Babylon takes us deep into the lives of people swept up in authoritarian politics, telling the engrossing stories of two half-sisters who who meet coincidentally in Tanzania, their mother and their elusive father who ties them all together. Her novel spreads thickly over Argentina's horrific, dirty war, the chaotic final years of Siad Barrel's brutal dictatorship in Somalia, which ended in the catastrophic civil war, and the modern-day excesses of Italy's right-wing politics. That sounds so vast in nature. Yeah, that sounds amazing. So you guys, I'm just realizing that this video is going to be extremely long. So I'm actually going to wrap up and do this in 2 parts now, because there is no way I can get these all done in another 5 minutes. So I'm going to say I have covered all the books that are coming out on May 7th and 1 book coming out on May 14th. I will do part 2 in a few minutes, but I will put it up separate so that you guys can get it in 2 videos. As always, if you're a return subscriber, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope all of these books wind up on your TBR. And until next time, I wish you happy reading, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!